Alrighty, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to deal with competition in the real estate, videography, photography market. This is going to be one of 31 videos that I put out for the month of December. I'm challenging myself to create a new video, a new productive, useful video each and every day. Let's get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo. And on this channel, I try to do anything from drone tech to real estate tutorials and how-tos. And this is just going to be another one of those real estate sort of sit down and talk videos. And I want to talk about competition in the marketplace that you film or photograph in. It's getting to be a pretty crowded space, actually. Since COVID started, we find all sorts of people getting into photography. And more so because the amount of agents that are popping up, there is a need for professional real estate videography and photography. With COVID, not many people can travel out to a home to see the home. So the need for that professional presence is greater, more so now than ever. So how do you deal with this insurgent amount of photographers and videographers in your area? Well, the first thing is to determine what is needed to excel above the competition. The first thing that I usually start with is good marketing. Good marketing can come in form of Facebook. Good marketing can come in form of great websites and mailers. And obviously the easiest way to start is with business cards. So that's actually what I did. I grabbed a stack of business cards and I just went around from brokerage to brokerage, leaving business cards. On the back of each one of my business cards, I have a 10% off coupon for their first shoot. And that just sort of entices people to check out my website, see my portfolio, and to give me a call if they have any questions. So that's first what I would recommend doing. Heavy competition, pound the floor, hit brokerages, give them your business cards, and offer a discount for first-time shoots. The second thing that I recommend doing is understanding the quality of work that your competitor is producing. This is going to greatly help you out. I'm not talking about their pricing. I'm talking about look at their photos. Look at the quality of the angles that your competitor is shooting. Look at what the agents are asking for in these photos. And you know, for what I do, I mean, when I first started, I really didn't have any sort of metric to rank against. I didn't even know if photographers in the market existed. So I really didn't have any sort of metric to butt up against. It was only up until I shot for an agent and completely destroyed these photos and found out that the agent never used the photos that I know I was doing something wrong. So looking at the photos that you're shooting currently and comparing them to your competitors by just browsing the MLS for local listings will let you know sort of where you stack up quality-wise. Once you determine the quality, then you can determine the price that you should be charging. Obviously, reaching out and talking to competitors, asking pricing doesn't hurt, but I sort of have a difference of opinion on that, and we'll touch more on that in a moment. So determine your quality of work and whether or not this is something that you should be charging for or not, and whether or not your work lines up with what is being delivered in the market. Okay, so let's talk about something that could happen if you are shooting photography. A lot of times you'll shoot for a client and maybe they use you once and then they never use you again. And you're sort of miffed. You're like, I did a great job for this person and I never heard back from them. What could be the factors that an agent doesn't use you again? Well, here's a couple of things that I've found out over the course of 2 years' time. Reason number one, my price was too high. They liked the work, but they didn't like the price, and I was not willing to come off the price. Sometimes that happens. That's pretty much a big one. The second thing is delivery times. Sometimes agents want photos delivered super fast, and you just can't deliver at the speed they want. Like they want it within 8 to 12 hours delivery. And if you're shooting multiple homes, you may be more on a 24-hour or almost sometimes 48-hour window to deliver those files back. So sometimes timeframes could be a big factor in whether or not an agent will use you. And then the last big thing is availability. Sometimes your availability, your schedule and convenience is a big reason why an agent will choose someone else over you. Now, in my instance, this becomes a big problem because I have a full-time job and I do YouTube. My priority level goes work first, my full-time job, then Apex, which is my real estate business, and then YouTube at the very bottom of the totem pole. Even with that being Apex is number 2, there are still times where I cannot shoot for an agent. And more so now, since it gets darker out earlier, I have to really limit how many houses I'm able to shoot. And trying to do videos and photos on a house right now with daylight savings time is basically limited to just the weekends only, because that's going to ensure that I'm going to get the best possible lighting and I can fit more than 2 houses in a day. So it's basically the weekends. Most agents don't want to work the weekends. Most agents want to just have you out there from 10 or 11, get your shoots in, and then be done and have the listing live the next day. That's most agents. So if you do find the ones that are, willing to wait for you, accommodate them the best you can. Okay, let's talk about accommodation a little bit more, because this is something that I really didn't think about, but it was something that came up earlier this week. So I talk about trademarks, things that you can do that you're known for. And there's things that you can be doing that you don't even know become your trademark. Like for the better half of the year, I would include one twilight photo in each of my photo shoots that I did for agents. And honestly, I thought that the agents weren't even noticing that I was doing that. I thought it was just sort of like that, like a baker's dozen, and you would throw in that 13th donut or something. Well, that 13th donut ended up being like a twilight conversion, where you would make the sky all pretty and turn a house from daylight to twilight. Anyways, this one agent did notice, and she actually said to me recently, she goes, "Hey, where's the twilight conversion?" And I said, well, I stopped doing it because it was really time consuming, and it's just, I charge extra for that. And she goes, "Oh, I thought that was like your trademark." And I said, no, I charge extra for it because I recently raised my prices up. And she obliged to my prices, by the way. So I ended up stewing on it for about a day or so. And then I ended up going back and converting the one photo that she asked for into a twilight shot. And I think by doing that, it sets sort of the precedent that you're willing to compromise, you're willing to work with them, that their business does matter to you. And it's little things like that that could potentially separate you from your competitors. So I think by offering that gesture for that twilight shot, I think it's just a subtle thing that, it takes a little bit of extra time, but it could be a big, differentiating factor on whether or not somebody chooses me over my competition. Now, speaking of competition locally, I've had several run-ins with competitors, and for the most part, most of the run-ins have been really fantastic. I haven't had like too many situations where I was like, really like, oh, that guy's an asshole. Usually, surprisingly, I'm the asshole, and I feel really bad about this, but I want to tell this story because I think it's important so you don't prejudge your competitors. I thought for a long time one of these competitors were stealing and poaching my business because I kept seeing clients go with them. And it ended up turning out to be that it boiled back down to my availability. I wasn't available, so they just went to the next best person. And the reality is, what I need to get through my head, and what you need to as well, is that you're not going to be exclusive to agents. Agents are free to use any photographer, any videographer that they want. And because you're not exclusive, people are going to, bounce around from photographer to photographer. That's pretty normal, actually. But anyways, this person ended up being one of my friends from high school. He shoots primarily weddings, but with COVID, weddings have been on the decline and he was needing work. And me selfishly thinking he was stealing my business and not just him trying to survive, I started throwing shade at him on Facebook and social media, really taking some cheap shots. And it wasn't fair to him because he didn't ask for that. And I never confronted him like what I should have did. Finally, one day I was so pissed after seeing yet another client go to him. I decided, you know what, let me do this. Let me reach out to him. And I ended up reaching out to him. And this guy is probably the most humble person I have ever met, the nicest person. And he took my call. We had a great conversation. Turned out that, again, availability and the brokerage was just advertising for him, which was great. And turns out, super nice guy. And he even offered that if I needed a backup or I needed somebody to shoot for him, that he would. And he would hope that if he needed me, I would be willing to help him. And I was sort of like, wow, okay, that I didn't expect it to take that turn, but it made me start thinking like, wait a second, I may want to take a vacation. I may get sick one day and I'm going to be in a jam. And I would just hope that somebody would want to bail me out. Well, lo and behold, I break my Mavic 2 Pro one day and I still have a shoot to do. And this guy reached out to me and offered to shoot the house for me and send me the photos, not charge me anything, just to help me out because he saw that my drone was down. So to me, that is what competition does. If you're good competition, you help one another, you lean on one another when you can, especially in photography. So it's given me a new mindset of how I should treat my competitors. And I would highly recommend that you make friends or at least be friendly enemies. I don't even think enemies is a good idea. Just be friendly with your competitors because you're never gonna know when you're gonna need them. As a sole proprietor, you're gonna wanna take days off and you're gonna need a backup, especially if you don't hire anybody and you're the only person there. You're still gonna have clients that are gonna have work, so you need to have somebody you can trust to recommend to. With that being said, my brother does shoot photography and I do lean on him quite a bit, even though he does try to emulate my business to like a carbon copy. I mean, obviously I got the better looks, I'm taller than him. I mean, so those are all things that I have going for me, right? But it's nice to have someone like that you can rely on to send business to when you need to. So my recommendation, have a good solid backup. Don't make enemies in the business because that's not a good idea. It's just gonna make it really uncomfortable, especially if you're in a small county and you're only servicing a very small area. Agents tend to talk. So if you're the good guy in the market, your chances of getting business are gonna be greater than if you try to really compete and steal from one another. So don't poach, don't steal. And hope you guys took away something from this ramble because it really was a ramble, but I feel like there's a lot of good information if you just sift through it. All right, that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay original. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video.